This is the ServSafe Food Handler Safety Training. Next slide. Next slide. Food safety is important. Concepts you will learn. How food becomes unsafe, your role in keeping food safe. Next slide. How food becomes unsafe. A foodborne illness is a disease that is transmitted to people through food. Many hazards can make food unsafe and cause a foodborne illness. Some come from the environment, others happen when people don't handle food the right way. Hazards from the environment. 3 types of hazards make food unsafe. Biological hazards. These are tiny forms of life that you can't see, taste, or smell. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. Some of these cause illness. They are called pathogens. Chemical hazards. Chemicals in your operation can contaminate food. Cleaners, sanitizers, polishers, machine lubricants. Physical hazards. Objects can get into food, including naturally occurring ones like bones, glass, fruit pits, metal shavings, staples, dirt, bandages, and jewelry. Next slide. How people make food unsafe. These 4 practices can make food unsafe. Poor personal hygiene. Transferring pathogens from your body to food. Time temperature abuse. Letting food stay too long at temperatures that are good for pathogen growth. Cross-contamination. Transferring pathogens from one surface or food to another. Poor cleaning and sanitizing. Letting contaminated food contact surfaces touch food. Next slide. Your role in keeping food safe. You have an important role in keeping food safe. It is easy but critical that you follow these practices. Practice good personal hygiene. Don't transfer pathogens from your body to food. Control the time and temperature of food. Don't let food stay too long at temperatures that are good for pathogen growth. Prevent cross-contamination. Don't transfer pathogens from one surface to another. Don't transfer pathogens from one food to another. Clean and sanitize surfaces the right way. Keep everything clean. Clean and sanitize anything that touches food. Next slide. Good personal hygiene. Concepts you will learn. How and when to wash your hands. Where to wash your hands. Other hand care guidelines. What to wear. Other important practices. Next slide. How and when to wash your hands. Your hands can transfer pathogens to food, so you must care for them in ways that keep food safe. One critical practice is washing your hands the right way at the right times. How to wash your hands. Hand washing is the most important way to keep from contaminating food. It should take you about 20 seconds. 1. Wet hands and arms. Use running water as hot as you can comfortably stand. 2. Apply soap. Apply enough to build up a good lather. 3. Scrub hands and arms vigorously. Scrub them for 10 to 15 seconds. Clean under fingernails and between fingers. 4. Rinse hands and arms thoroughly. Use running water. 5. Dry hands and arms. Do not use your apron or any part of your uniform. Use a single-use paper towel or hand dryer. After washing your hands, there are some things you can do to make sure your hands stay clean after you wash them. Use a paper towel to turn off the faucet. Use a paper towel to open the restroom door. Next slide. Using hand antiseptics. Follow these steps if your operation asks you to use a hand antiseptic when washing your hands. Never use a hand antiseptic instead of washing your hands. Use an antiseptic after you wash your hands. Wait for the antiseptic to dry before touching food or equipment. Follow the manufacturer's directions for using a hand antiseptic. When to wash your hands. Wash your hands before you start work and after doing any of these things. Using the restroom, handling raw meat, poultry, or seafood, taking out garbage, touching your hair, face, or body, touching clothing or aprons, sneezing, coughing, or using a tissue. Next slide. Handling chemicals that can make food unsafe, clearing tables or bussing dirty dishes, handling money before putting on gloves, smoking, eating or drinking, chewing gum or tobacco, touching anything else that may contaminate your hands. Examples include dirty equipment, work surfaces, and towels. Next slide. Where to wash your hands. Where to wash your hands. Your operation has specific sinks for hand washing. You must use these stations the right way to make hand washing effective. Use a hand washing sink. Wash your hands only in a designated hand washing sink. Do not use hand washing sinks for other things. Never dump dirty water in them. Never prep food in them. Keep hand washing sinks easy to use. Never stack food, equipment, or supplies in them or in front of them. Stocking the hand washing sink. A stocked sink should have warm running water, soap, single-use paper towels, a garbage container. If these things aren't stocked, tell your manager. Next slide. Other hand care guidelines. It takes more than having clean hands to maintain good personal hygiene. You must also use gloves the right way and care for your hands and nails. Use gloves the right way. Gloves can help prevent the spread of pathogens if they are used the right way. Use the correct gloves. Only use single-use gloves when handling food. Make sure the gloves fit your hands. They should not be too tight or too loose. Never rinse, wash, or reuse gloves. Wash your hands before putting on gloves and when changing to a new pair. Change gloves when necessary, as soon as they become dirty or torn, before beginning a different task, after handling raw meat, seafood, or poultry, and before handling ready-to-eat food, at least every 4 hours during continual use, more often if necessary. Next slide. Hands and nails. Follow these guidelines to maintain your hands and nails. Keep fingernails short and clean. Do not wear nail polish. Do not wear false fingernails. Wear a bandage over wounds on hands and arms. Make sure it keeps the wound from leaking. Wear a single-use glove or a finger cut over bandages on hands or fingers. Next slide. What to wear. If you wear dirty clothes to work, you'll give customers a bad impression of your operation. More important, dirty clothing may carry pathogens that can cause foodborne illnesses. Follow the guidelines below to prevent this. Hair covering. Always wear a clean hat or other hair covering when prepping food, working in prep areas, working in areas used to clean utensils and equipment. Clothing. Wear clean clothes every day. This includes chef coats and uniforms. Aprons. Remove aprons and store them in the right way when leaving prep areas. For example, when taking out garbage or using the restroom. Jewelry. Remove jewelry from hands and arms before prepping food or when working around prep areas. Do not wear rings except for a plain metal band, bracelets including medical bracelets, watches. Your company may also ask you to remove other jewelry. Servers may wear jewelry if allowed by company policy. Next slide. Other important practices. Using smart hygiene practices keeps you and everyone else safe. Follow the guidelines below. Where you can eat, drink, smoke, and chew gum or tobacco. Only eat, drink, smoke, or chew gum or tobacco in designated areas. Never do these things in the following areas: in prep areas, in service areas, in areas used to clean utensils and equipment. What to do if you are sick. If you are sick, you could spread pathogens to food. Don't let this happen. Tell your manager when you're sick. This is very important when you have these symptoms: vomiting, diarrhea, jaundice, a sore throat with a fever. Next slide. Next slide. Controlling time and temperature. Concepts you will learn. Food most likely to become unsafe. How to measure the temperature of food. Holding and storing TCS food. How to label food for storage. Food most likely to become unsafe. Any type of food can be contaminated, but some types allow more pathogen growth. The best way to control pathogen growth in these items is to control time and temperature. So these food items are known as food that needs time and temperature control for safety, or TCS food for short. Here are the most common types of TCS food. Milk and dairy products, meat, beef, pork, and lamb. Fish, baked potatoes, tofu or other soy protein, synthetic ingredients such as textured soy protein and meat alternatives, sprouts and sprout seeds, eggs, poultry, shellfish and crustaceans, heat-treated plant food such as cooked rice, beans, and vegetables, sliced melons, cut tomatoes, cut leafy greens, fresh leafy greens that have been cut, shredded, sliced, chopped, or torn, untreated garlic and oil mixtures. Next slide. Next slide. How to measure the temperature of food. To control the temperature of food, you must first know how to check it. A thermometer is the most important tool for doing this. Follow the guidelines below to do it right. Use the right thermometer for the job you are doing. Check with your manager about the right thermometer to use. Make sure the thermometer is ready to be used. It must be washed, rinsed, and sanitized. Do this before using it. It must be adjusted so that it will read temperatures correctly. This is called calibration. Check temperatures the right way. Stick the thermometer into the thickest part of the food. This is usually at the center. Wait until the thermometer reading stays steady before writing down the temperature. Take another reading in a different spot. Clean and sanitize the thermometer. Wash, rinse, sanitize, and air dry the thermometer after using it. Keep its storage case clean. Holding and storing TCS food. When you hold or store TCS food the wrong way, pathogens have a chance to grow. To keep food safe during these tasks, follow the guidelines below. Temperature danger zone. To keep TCS food safe, you must keep it out of the temperature danger zone. Pathogens grow well in the temperature range from 41 to 135 degrees. This range is called the temperature danger zone. TCS food must be kept out of this range. Holding TCS food safely. To keep TCS food safe during holding, follow these guidelines. Keep hot food at 135 degrees or higher. Keep cold food at 41 degrees or lower. Keep frozen food frozen. Check the food's temperature at least every 4 hours. If food is not being held at the right temperature, tell your manager. Storing TCS food safely. TCS food must be stored the right way. Do not overload coolers or freezers. Return prepped food to coolers as quickly as possible. Plan ahead so you don't have to open cooler doors more than necessary. Next slide. How to label food for storage. Food can only be stored for so long to keep it safe. To control storage time, you must be able to tell when food was stored and by what date it must be used. This means always labeling food as it is stored. All ready-to-eat food that is prepped in-house must have a label that includes the following information: name of the food, use by or expiration date. Ask your manager what date to use. When storing food, check the expiration date. Store food in first in, first out order. This means storing food that will expire first in front of items that will expire later. Use the food in front first because it will expire first. Next slide.